Hi everyone, welcome to Entre-Elles. I'm your host, Tombeni Kouloufoua, and this podcast is a platform for women of the world to tell their professional success stories. Twice a month, I interview a woman who shares her professional journey and her personal goals. Whether she lives in Abidjan, Accra, London, Paris, or San Francisco, her human experience is universal. In this podcast, you will hear about ambition, perseverance, hard work, dedication, challenges, but also soul-searching and purpose. My guest this week is Mominatu Boog. At just 26 years old, Mominatu has already lived many lives and traveled the world. A native of Chicago, Illinois, she's a former model, a creator of digital content, and the founder of MomiYoga in Dakar, Senegal. Her story has been featured on BBC News, Elle Magazine, Huffington Post, and many more mainstream media outlets. Here is our conversation, recorded remotely between London and Dakar. Hi, Mominatu.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you. So glad to have you on today. As I was saying in the introduction to this episode, you are the founder of MomiYoga in Dakar, Senegal.
Yes.
But we're going to talk about more than that, starting with your early years. Mm-hmm. So let's get into it. Where were you born and how would you describe yourself growing up?
So I was born in Evanston, Illinois. It's a suburb on the outskirts of Chicago. But I was raised in Chicago, Illinois. The one word that continuously comes up when I think of myself as a child is very rebellious. I was always sort of thinking out of the box. But in the same essence, I would say that I had a deep yearning for love and for acceptance. And so I think that contributed to a lot of my rebellion and my free thinking at the time that grew into me becoming the woman that I am now.
You went to college, but eventually decided to drop out. What was your initial career plan, if you had one, and what were your areas of interest?
I wanted to work in television. So I've been working in the fitness industry for almost 10, 11 years, on and off. And at the time I was working for a gym, Equinox, in Chicago and Gold Coast off of Michigan Avenue. So a lot of the clients that came to that gym at the time were Juliana Rancic of E! News. Kevin Hart was there. I forgot this director's name. Huge director. I'm blanking on his name right now, but I would see him all the time. So I used to really admire just sort of television personalities. So my initial job that I really thought I was going to get into was broadcast journalism and fashion. I was working as a stylist as well as I was a manager at Equinox, paying my way through school. And then I was also working as a stylist at the time. So yeah, that was my plan. But in the bottom of my heart, I've always had a deep love for fitness and a deep love for yoga and sport. And it was always sort of my sort of medicine through the more tumultuous aspects of my life.
I never talk about my guest's age, but considering all that you've done, it's in such a short amount of time, and because you were saying that you worked in the fitness industry for 10, 11 years, people would be surprised to know that you're not even 30 years old. So, I will make an exception and and I will put it out there.
I'm 26 years old. And I was going through my Facebook this morning, ironically, and I was looking at, I don't necessarily go in the past too often. I don't think about the past as much. I'm very much so in the present and where my feet are. But I was going through my photos and I was looking and I was like, whoa. At one point I was looking at my clients. I had this one client, a prestigious CEO who's my client when I was 18. And I was like, how did I get into this world and these people? And it just filled me with a bunch of gratitude because of just the world that I grew up in. I would have never imagined that this would have been what I wanted. Actually, I did imagine it, but just to see it actualize and manifest, it just shows the power of, discipline and intention.
Were you already teaching yoga at the time?
No, I was a personal trainer. I was a personal trainer. Yeah. So I used to be actually my first well-paying job was at, well, whatever, what's well-paying, right? But I was a personal training director of a gym called LA Fitness in Chicago. And I was very, very close to my regional director at the time and one of the vice presidents of LA Fitness at the time. And they were very, very central in a lot of like my growth. They would send me ebooks because I was young. I was really young and I had to tell grown men what to do, like people that have been training for longer than I've been alive, how to go about their day. And I was really young, but I was an excellent salesperson. Um, so from that point on, when I was a personal training director, I decided, how can I be talking to these guys about how they should sell personal training and how to make more money and to make their commissions, but I'm not certified. So I ended up getting my NASM certification, which is the personal training certification, and I started studying more nutrition, just like getting little licenses here and there. But I was always practicing yoga, but it was always something that was more spiritual than it was something that I thought I would ever teach. So, and then once I left LA Fitness and during the PTD stuff, I started working as a trainer at another gym, Fitness Formula Clubs in Chicago, just a really high-end boutique club, and then Lifetime Fitness in a suburb in Illinois. So then I started training more, and then once I was done with that, I began freelancing. So my entire day, I would have these clients in different areas in Chicago that I would go to their homes and I would train them for marathon. Like, crazy. It feels like another life. It's so funny saying it out loud.
Along the way, you decided to move to Puerto Rico. How did that happen?
I was still working at Equinox at the time, actually, and I was training. And I think I'd left at one point and I came back and I met a girl who was Puerto Rican and we hit it off like a house on fire. Like we just became like best friends. And my ex-boyfriend, I was dating someone forever who was also Puerto Rican. I spoke Spanish. And so we were talking one day, we were just like, what are we doing? What is so exciting about our lives right now? And we're just like, why don't we just go to Puerto Rico and like figure it out? So initially my plan was to just go to Puerto Rico for 3 months. And then I wanted to backpack through Croatia and like Central Europe, like the Balkan Peninsula. I don't even know why I wanted to go to Croatia, but I was really like wanting to do that. However, plans turned differently. I moved to Puerto Rico. I ended up getting my first modeling contract there. And I was working doing marketing at the time as well. And 3 months turned into 2 years.
So, as you said, you started modeling in Puerto Rico and then decided to move back to the US, to New York City specifically, to bring your career to the next level. You turned it into a success. How did that happen? Can you tell us about that?
I don't even know. I don't know. It's like, and I try so hard not to sound so woo-woo and spiritual all the time, but it truly is. I think that life is truly a very spiritual experience. And when you set your mind to something, when you have an intention and immense belief and an energetic joy, like an excitement about something, almost living in that moment like it's already happened for you, doors open up and there's synchronicity. So when my friend, by the way, that I'll mention at the time, she was a model as well. And I literally just walked into an agency, one of the best agency in Puerto Rico, and they told me, they were like, "You're not skinny enough, so we'll sign you as commercial talent because we think you're beautiful, but like if you want to model, you're gonna have to lose like 10 kilos, 15 kilos." So I was run like 6 miles a day, every single day. In 3 months, I lost the weight and I got signed as a model for them, and it was quite successful. And I worked with brands while I was in Puerto Rico, like Coca-Cola, St. Regis hotels, like really cool brands. And I thought, you know what, I want to expand. I want to go to New York. And the concept of even me making that decision, it just goes to show how insane I kind of am or was at the time, is I was sitting on my friend's sofa, who is the founder of Afros in San Juan. She's one of my best friends. And she was like practically like my personal photographer at the time. We would collab on everything and things blew up for us both. And I was sitting on her sofa and we were watching this movie, Begin Again, and everyone was jumping around on these rooftops in New York City. and following their dreams. And it just seemed so free. And it seemed like it was just such an artistic place. And I told her, I looked at her, I was like, hey, I'm on Craigslist right now. I'm looking at apartments. This is the place that I need to be. And I think in about a month later, I was there and I had missed my flight. And I missed my flight and I was like, okay, this is not meant to be. Like, it's just not going to work out. And that same friend, she called me. She said, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just devastated. I was like in bed. I was like, I think I was like crying because I missed my flight completely. I was like, I'm not going to get another opportunity like this. Like, just woe was me. And she's like, hey, so we're going to come pick you up in the morning. We sent you an email with your reservation. We booked you a flight. Don't miss it this time. And we'll be driving you there. And to this day, I don't think I've had a friend do some like yeah. And I got signed to a different management. I got an email actually the moment I opened my phone when I got off the plane from this management company there that was like managing a few like major models. And they're like, hey, we love what you do. They liked like all my posts. And they're like, we see you're coming to Brooklyn. Can we meet? And I met with them and they signed me and I started working.
That's such a great story.
Yeah.
You often talk about the power of manifestation, moving with intention, setting goals. I'd like to pause and explore those a bit more because I think they could be really helpful to others.
Yeah, I'm gonna be totally transparent as I truly believe in also being authentic. So a lot of times people have this idea that manifestation is just being like, okay, guys, I want the BMW. I want a BMW. I want a BMW. I want a BMW. I want a BMW. And the BMW is going to come. It doesn't work like that. In the Bible, they say faith without works is dead, right? I'm not a very religious person, but like faith without works is dead. So I believe in having an idea, but also moving your feet to get it done. I can't say, I want to be a model. I want to be a model. I want to be a model. I wanted to be a model, but I wasn't the right size. So what did I do? It was probably like, I ran in the Puerto Rican heat at 12 every day, sometimes 6 miles every day. I was committed. I saw it in my head already. I was like, I need this, but I needed to move my feet as well. And I think that I've always, when I wanted something, it was already mine and I got excited about it. And I had people around me that were positive and that were like, we would hype each other up. And if you've ever read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he talks about mastermind groups. It's important to have people around you that are in the vortex of joy, in the words of Abraham Hicks. Like people like before I even got on this podcast, I was talking to a friend and we do this every single day. We're like, all right, so we're gonna plan this trip. Yeah, we're gonna plan this trip. Okay, we're gonna go here. Yeah, we're gonna go here. It's gonna be amazing. How are we gonna do it? We don't know how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna get it done. And we're like, we just have so much belief and joy in that. And I think that for me in my experience, it's always been the power of community, of having powerful people around me because throughout this journey, I'm talking a lot about the highlights. I'm not talking to you about the days where I traveled and I had been in India, Ecuador, Zanzibar, all these places I've dreamed of going to, and then coming back and not having a place to live and being homeless and having no money and needing other people to carry me because I couldn't carry myself. So, yes, there's a lot of pretty shiny lights that people notice, but no one ever wants to talk about the shadow aspect. We only talk about the mountain peak, not much about the valleys that you have to walk through alone. But I think when it comes to manifestation, it's about having people that are on the same frequency as you, people that are on the same wavelength as you, who are also aspiring to something greater and that don't have jealousy and that you can talk to openly and say, this is what I want to do. And they support you with that same energy. And that creates a vibration and you move. Like the people that were in my circle when I said I wanted to model, I didn't have anyone saying, oh girl, you're only 5'8". Like you, models are tall. Like you kind of thick, boo. Like no one said that. They were like, of course you can. You're stunning. Why not? And like, so we would just gas each other up. And some of the most influential photographers of our time right now, I've like sat in their homes. We've gone to coffee together. We were going to church together in New York. They became family to me. So I don't think that's because I have this gorgeous face and I was by no means like this top model. I didn't think I think it's because I truly believed, and that belief brought me to a vibration that aligned with the people that I wanted to be around. And those were the people that I ended up surrounded with.
You know, that's such a great point. I totally agree with what you were saying. I strongly believe in having a supportive and positive network of individuals around you. I think we all should have that. I also believe in this other concept of basically having a personal board of directors and having, on this board, someone acting as a critic, someone else acting as an influencer, someone else acting as a sounding board. And obviously, some people will perform several functions at once, but it's really this idea of, having people around you who support you and want you to succeed. It's as simple as that, really.
Absolutely.
And to your other point on how we only talk about success and not the lower points, that's why you sometimes get the impression that people are successful overnight, when really often there are years of work behind it. I did an episode a few weeks back, and I was saying that here at Entre-Elles, we want to look at success in a holistic way, because there's always a lot more that goes on behind the scene.
Yeah, and success is relative. It's relative. What is success really? I always say that if your entire life purpose was to be the manager of Walgreens, because you've always, like, you were a janitor at Walgreens, and your vision of success is to be a manager of Walgreens, you are a success. If your entire life you said, I wanted to be a teacher, and you went to school and you became a teacher, you're a successful person. So success is whatever success means to you. I think that the idea is a lot, and I've been that person where it's called apparent success, where you can look at me and be like, whoa, she's killing it, she's killing it. I've had points and times in my life where I've been at my lowest points, but it looked so good to everyone else. They're like, whoa, you're killing it. I was like, I wasn't. It may look like success to you, but I'm suffering. So, like, I think it's not taking things at face value and understanding that success to me may not be success to you. Sometimes success is simply just getting out of bed and being able to do a meditation and going to the gym and having, like, the moment to make a nice simple meal that's filling. That's success. It doesn't have to be like the big $1 billion thing, because then we get trapped in, like, the superficialities of life. And I feel like it's very easy to get lost, and I've been lost. So it's a tricky road, in my opinion. Tricky road, success.
So, how do you go from a successful situation to a reset? You were in New York City, you were doing well after setting a career in modeling as your goal. But obviously, now you are the founder of MomiYoga in Dakar. So, we know that there has been a shift or a progression in your career. When did you start teaching yoga?
I trained in my yoga certification, my first one, 7 years ago. So a while ago in Chicago through Moksha Yoga, with Darren Friesen. So I already had my yoga teacher training. I've already had, like, hours. So I'm NASM certified. I have my yoga training through Yoga Alliance. So I already had that. But I left New York. My father passed away in 2017, and I was living in Brooklyn. And I was working, like, odd jobs, modeling, odd jobs, nannying, odd jobs. Like, you know what I mean? Just the New York hustle. Like, you're never really doing one thing. And obviously, the loss of my father was very devastating. Like, it shook my world, but in a way that for the people that were around me, you wouldn't. It pushed me in overdrive. So I already had a very, very, very active yoga practice. Like, there was no week that I didn't do yoga for less than 5 days a week. I did yoga every single day. Even when I was 18, 19, yoga was like my crack. So if it wasn't Bikram yoga, it was vinyasa. It wasn't power yoga, it was hatha. So I've always practiced yoga and have only ever taken, like, a break of, like, 2 months to a year. I mean, 2 months to 6 months off of yoga. So I was doing that, but my practice deepened after my father passed, and I would start to do these vision boards every single month. I would, like, cut out cardboard and take all these magazines, and I would paste them on a board, and I would say, this month, this is my goal. It's yoga every day. I'm going to be vegan this month. Like, I'm going to be vegan for sure. Only veggies, only organic produce. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to train with my soul cycle coach like this. So I got really, really intentional. But I wasn't dealing with my pain. I was just working through it. And there was a point where I was working for The Class by Taryn Toomey in New York City, which is something that's a crazy, like, whoa, it's an incredible space. And I was doing that work. It's a very cathartic work. So it's yoga mixed with like plyometrics movements, but you are able to express yourself through sound. And so I'm telling you, I would go in this room and I would do the practice and I would scream and I would cry. And it was the only place where I felt like I can release. So through that, I had a lot of realizations through doing that work and the yoga. And one day morning, I woke up and I was like, all right, I'm sick of this job. So I woke up one morning. I literally was supposed to work at 7 a.m. I texted them at 6 a.m. I'm like, I quit. I'm done. I won't do this anymore. Everyone's pissed. They're like, you're supposed to open up the place. I'm like, sis, I'm not coming in. I'm done. And this is something that I've lived by. If I don't enjoy something, and I don't tell anyone to take on what I'm doing, this is my life, right? But if I don't enjoy something, if something doesn't bring me pleasure and I'm not passionate about it, I refuse to live a life of misery. I will stop. If I'm in a conversation that I don't enjoy, the conversation ends. If I'm around someone that does not bring me like, and not like you have to fulfill me, like your duty is to make me feel pleased, but if it doesn't sit right in my spirit anymore, I'm out. And I felt that. And then in a meditation, in a yoga practice, I had a vision of something and of my father actually. And the word that kept coming to me was Senegal, Senegal, Senegal. So in 2018, my mother is half Senegalese. So I'm Liberian Senegalese. And crazy enough, a month later, I booked a flight to move to Senegal. And I was writing a lot, praying a lot, chanting a lot. And just sort of like, I had no intentions of what I wanted to do here. Well, I had an idea I wanted to create, but I was just like, I need it out. Then the yoga studio that I frequented, they hit me up. They're like, hey, you're a content creator and we love what you do on social media. We're wondering, we've never done this before, but can we collaborate with you? And you fly out to Ecuador and create content for our yoga teacher training. And in return, you'll get your yoga teacher training certification for free and all these other perks. So a month in Ecuador in South America, learning the practice. Didn't know it was going to be the most life-changing thing of my life. So that shed me completely. I was broken in half. And from that moment, I met a teacher, Esme, who has changed, a phenomenal teacher. We were talking a lot about India. And from Ecuador, I said, you know what? I'm not done with this yoga journey. I'm not done with my healing. I'm going to go to India to search for more. I'm going to stay in an ashram. I'm going to find a guru. I'm going to meditate in the Himalayas. And I'm going to travel up and down India. And as soon as the teacher training was done, I went to New York for a week to see friends and fam. And then after, I was in India for 6 months, where I lived in an ashram. 5 a.m. wake up, we meditate and practice yoga, eat vegan meals all day. Then I went to the holy city of Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha gained enlightenment under the tree. And I did a Vipassana meditation, which is 10 days of silence and 16 hours of meditation a day. You don't speak, you don't make eye contact, no books, no phone. It's a journey. And I did 3 of those while I was there. And it was quite a journey. And I healed a lot. And I reached some heights spiritually that I don't know if I'll ever be able to get back to. Yeah. And I knew I needed to teach. Yeah. I knew I needed to teach.
Did you know at the time that this teaching would happen in Senegal?
No idea. No idea at all I was coming back to Senegal. I was done with Senegal, okay? Senegal had like beat me up when I was here, So, but I, towards the end of my journey, so I traveled throughout India. I was in Jaipur. I went to Bodh Gaya. I was in Varanasi, which is the oldest living city in the world. Bombay, Delhi, Rishikesh, Goa, like all over India. I was traveling, searching for God in every corner I could find. I shaved my head. I got rid of all my clothes, all my everything. Like I had like to this day, I don't have many clothes. Like going from someone that has modeled for years, constantly acquired clothing from like even working odd retail jobs, like so many clothes, so many shoes. Now I can count my outfits, like donated everything. But in the end, I became a meditation teacher to a CEO of a company. So he's like, I really need you. Can you like teach me how to meditate in Mumbai? So I go to Mumbai from Delhi. They fly me out there. And this like crazy penthouse, like this guy's like this, him and his family are just so rich. He's like, I just need you to make me like you, to teach me how to meditate. So every day I'm there, Vipassana meditation. And then we become like friends. Then we become like family. And he starts to ask me questions about myself because at this time I didn't speak much. Like I was really on another wave. Um, and he's like, but you're actually like brilliant. And I said, I mean, so you say, it's cool. He's like, no, he's like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be rich. Like, you're smarter than me. Like, where's your money? You know? And he's like, he starts telling me about what he does in business. He's like, I want you to work for me. He's like, I want you to be like my executive assistant. I want you to be my right hand man. I want you to make me into an excellent public speaker. Like, you have these gifts. Like, you should be teaching. La, nina, nina. And like, there was no dollar amount that he could do to get me to do it. And in the end, eventually, we started working together, like very closely, very, very closely. We flew to Tanzania together and, well, we flew to Tanzania. I worked in like trading with him, just a totally different life switch. He taught me about money in a different way and really changed my life in a massive, massive, massive way. Massive way. Changed my entire perceptions about money, everything. So I went from being in this minimalist mindset day by day, living like a monk, meditating with monks, living in an ashram, traveling with no agenda, not much money. This is something I really want to say because people always think I'm a trust fund baby and that someone is paying for it has been God and no money to making a lot of money to learning how to deal with money. And it was funny, the transition. It was like the journey told me, okay, strip yourself of everything, have nothing. And I had so much joy in my spirit. I read my journals and I'm like, who is this girl? And then learning how to value things. And then from that point on, I was like, I'm done with this sort of world. Went back to New York with nothing and I rebuilt. And then from New York, the journey starts again. I decided, all right, Dakar is the place. I'm back in Dakar. I came with no idea of what I wanted to do, no idea of what I was going to build, what I was going to create. I didn't know I was going to like create MomiYoga. I didn't know I was going to teach. I thought I was just going to have my certifications to deepen my own personal practice, to become a better yogi and to become a stronger individual and to free myself from my ego and from my self-destructiveness and from my faults, right? And I got here and there were so many, that's another podcast, there were so many things that happened. And one day a friend told me, why don't you just teach? That wellness could be really cool for you. And I was like, yeah, why not? That was 6 months ago. It was in August. I started doing the group classes, and since then, I've been featured in Elle Magazine, BBC World, Huffington Post, with a few more coming out probably after this is released. So it's just crazy how when you follow your spirit, every single thing that I've done on this journey has led me to be where I am now. The spiritual side in India, where I was just so pure, then bringing myself back to the business aspect, learning with someone who has made millions, how to deal with money, then being back at the point of not having anything. So it's just like life is working for you, never against you. The times that I thought I was suffering and I was in a really low point, those were the parts that allowed me to actually thrive and grow and to create.
Let's talk about the business side of things. How would you describe the concept of MomiYoga?
So the concept of MomiYoga when I first began was making it so that I wanted everyone to have access to it. Because I found when I came to Dakar and I wanted to go to yoga studios, everyone was white. Everyone was Lebanese. And I remember walking into a specific studio, that like one of the main studios here, and I felt like this is so superficial. Everyone's here about looking cute, having their tight bodies and their tight outfits, and it doesn't feel like a yoga community, because I know yoga communities. I've like practiced some of the best studios of the world, and I felt that love and that hug that comes with the space, and I didn't feel that. And it really like upset me, actually. It like I felt like, how elitist is this? And I mean, yoga is elitist everywhere, right? Let's just be completely transparent about it. Even in my yoga studios in New York, one of the most diverse cities in the world, there were often times when I was like the only Black girl in classes for weeks. So, and then you have to talk about like the pricing of it. Yoga is very expensive. So when I first started MomiYoga, I was like, I want something that's really affordable. I want people to just come do yoga with me, and I'm going to do it on the beaches. So my first class, I just announced on Instagram, hey, I'm going to be doing a socially distanced COVID class on this beach. It's only going to be 5,000 sifas, the equivalent of $10. Like not even like 8, $10 US, nothing. If you can make it, come. So many people started DMing me, oh, I want to come. You teach yoga? What is this? No. And so the first class was like it was a success for me. It was a really great success. I'd hired like a photographer to do it and to shoot it and to document it. And I was so happy. Like, and it was all Black women, which was powerful, and like powerful Black women that are making moves in Dakar and that are very well known. And I thought that was great. And so I was like, all right, that was a one-off. I'm going to do another one. The next one was double in size. And ironically, I had some girls from like some TV shows here that started to show up to class. And then I started being like, all right, I want to collab with different places, because the beaches at that point during lockdown, they were like, you can't teach on the beach anymore. So I started doing digital classes that were donation based. So I was working with a platform where I would teach online classes. The initial one was for justice for Elijah McCain. He was a boy that was slain by the police in the United States. I wanted to raise money into helping the family of that. And I raised a good amount of money, I believe $2,500. And then I started working with local Senegalese Black-owned businesses. Yeah. And I would teach and just give like a tiny percentage of like my class, like 20% of whatever I make would go to that business just for having me there. And then I started doing my online classes, would build donations for like a surf fund at one point. And so things just started to expand and expand and expand. And my classes got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I moved into a huge space, which had like a front area that was pretty big and fit about 15 people. So I was like, you know what? I want to make this part of the home a studio. So I'm just going to have a home studio, so I don't have to worry about like paying people out at this point, and then I have to up my prices, because the more places that people recognize me, they're like, okay, so we want to take 50% of what you make. You have 28, sometimes 30 people coming to class. Like, let's take 50%. I'm like, no, this is not the way. Done with that. So I opened my home studio. So in my home space, people would come, and that's why I started to make it more exclusive, because it's like, since the studio space is also a live space, I didn't want just any person to be able to come into my home that way. So I would have people register, and then they would get the location on request. That's when it became like Speakeasy Yoga.
So basically what it means, if we look at it from a business perspective, is that originally what you launched was the brand, right?
Yeah.
I have two questions for you. The first one has to do with your mindset. Even though you said that your mom is half Senegalese, was it ever daunting or scary for you to move alone to a country that you hardly knew, having been raised in the US? And not only did you move to a new country, but you also launched a business in a very smart way by keeping your costs down. But still, during a pandemic, that's been particularly tough on the fitness industry. So my question is, did you ever second guess yourself? Because obviously you had to take into consideration the new safety measures. You had to ensure that you were following social distancing guidelines. So did you second guess yourself at any point when it came to the business angle?
It's funny because this is probably what scares the crap out of like my friends and anyone that is close to me. Um, Not at all. I am never afraid going into a country. I probably should. It's probably with age, maybe I'll mature and find fear, but I never ever had the fear. Um, and sometimes I wonder where that sort of comes from, but I truly feel like the weight of my ancestors behind me. I always feel like I'm guided and protected, and I feel like any space that I feel that I want to be in, there's a reason why I'm going there. And so no, I felt like I had a purpose here, and I never felt like, oh my God, I'm all alone. What am I gonna do? I'm like, I'm never alone. It's so long. Like I trust so much in myself and in my ability, and that if something were to happen, God forbid, the worst thing that can happen in this life is death, and that's already a promise. So what's what you know? So I'm just like, I don't know, and that's honest. And then with the business aspect, I think that I don't think of myself as a business owner. Ironically, I think I thought of it as I was doing private clients, which I forgot to mention. I had private yoga clients already, but like I was never doing group classes. So I was running around Dakar, like just well in the Almadi area, so Mamel, Almadi, and Gore, and sometimes in Plateau. I had about maybe like 5 to 8 clients at the time, and I would just do private sessions. And then I just was like, all right, I'll do a group class. But I was nervous because I was like, is anyone going to show up? I think that was one thing. I was like, well, people actually show up. And then when in the first hour of me posting it and my class sold out, I was like, okay, so people will show up. They'll be into it. And so I was never scared because in the beginning with the group class, it was never about the money, ever. It was about getting Black people together. African people together to practice yoga. I wanted to see brown people in a space and I wanted it to be like, listen, yoga is not this elitist thing. And one, I also don't want to continue to have the conversation about what is it like to be a Black yoga teacher. Like, it's just so whack. Like, I'm tired. What do you mean? What is it like to be you? Like, how about like let's like, what is it like to teach yoga? What is it like to experience yoga? Is yoga supposed to be something that's meant for just like rich women in tight Lululemon pants? And do I have to be someone that talks like this and says namaste? I figured it all out. No, I am someone that literally felt called to teach. I am not healed. I am by no means a guru. I have my own things that I need to work on within myself. And I'm honest that I'm healing through that. But through my teaching, I'm able to heal myself and also heal others. And I think that the bigger thing, it was never about business because I didn't feel like I knew anything about business, right? But it was more than anything, I want to be able to help people. I have this knowledge from these experiences that many people probably won't have an opportunity to have in their life. Like I have the luxury to spend a month in Ecuador, 10 hours a day studying nothing but yoga, studying nothing but anatomy, eating nothing but fresh foods. I've been like in Costa Rica and practiced yoga and studied yoga. In Chicago, practiced and studied yoga with some of the best. In New York, and then in India with a guru in an ashram with nothing else to focus on but this. So clearly, I'm sorry, I have something to bring to the table that I can teach people, regardless if I feel like I'm healed enough or not, because we all will. Of course, we have our self doubts and our imposter syndrome, but yeah. And so I didn't have doubts on that. I just trusted myself, even when I was scared, and even when I thought maybe like I'm too young or I'm still working on my own issues. Like, who do I think I am to like think I'm going to teach someone peace when some days I don't have peace? But the message is the message. It doesn't matter who the messenger is.
Do you already know what you'd like to see happen next? Because since you've launched, you've generated quite a bit of press. Your business is doing well. Do you want to expand in Senegal? Do you want to export MomiYoga to other African countries? Are you more in the moment? What's your vision?
As I'm getting older, I'm like this whole more in the moment thing, it's like getting harder. But I just like talking to my mom this morning. She's like, "Can you just sit down? And I'm just like, But I think I definitely will expand. I'll definitely expand. And I don't think of yoga. I don't think of MomiYoga as something that's Dakar or Senegalese. Or I think the luxury of it is that it can be done anywhere at any time. And so it's definitely expanding on more of a global scale, for sure. And I think ultimately just being able to access people in all corners of the world and allowing them to experience MomiYoga, whether they're in quarantine, whether they're in Peru, Brazil, Africa, wherever. I want people to have access to me. So that's the expansion I'm thinking of. But also, I never like to say that I'm in anything for long, because sometimes your duty as a vessel in this life is simply to open the door. Maybe, you never know, maybe my purpose was just to do MomiYoga to allow people to be like, all right, yoga is not just for white women in Lululemon. It's not just for rich Lebanese women in Dakar and Plateau. Like, I, a black woman that loves yoga, I can teach yoga. Like Mominatu has showed me that I can do it and I can succeed. I can create something that no one was doing here before, at least like deeply in the Senegalese community, and make it popular and make people excited about what it is that I bring to the table. I can take the risk. And sometimes that's the only thing that you need to do is just allow your light to shine a little bit to give other people permission to do the same. And that could have just been my purpose, my legacy. And then maybe I'll like, who knows? I could be working in hair. Life is long.
I love that you already are so conscious and aware of the importance of having a legacy. Thank you so much for spending this moment with Entre-Elles and sharing your journey with us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me and for being interested in my journey. It always shocks me that anyone really even wants to hear about it. So I appreciate it.
And of course, I wish much success to MomiYoga, and I will put all your social media handles and contact details on our website. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Mominatu for sharing her journey with us from a personal, spiritual, and professional perspective. If you live in Dakar, or if you are ever visiting, make sure to look up MomiYoga. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app and subscribe to be notified of new episodes. While you're there, please leave us a 5-star rating and a review to support us. You can follow us on social media at Entre-Elles Podcast. Entre-Elles will be back in 2 weeks with a new episode in French and in a month with a new episode in English. Thank you so much to all of you for listening.